Welcome to the Off the Dome podcast, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Off the Dome podcast. A little bit of a special episode. Didn't come out Tuesday. We're going to do one giant for the super wild card weekend. We're going to do one giant episode here. We got, all the games they did not fail other than to provide entertainment, other than maybe the Bucks. The Bucks laying an egg on Monday night. Other than that, we had the theme of the wild card weekend was no lead is safe. You had two teams just absolutely completely go 180 from thinking they had it in the bag. It was over. It was done with, signed, sealed, delivered in the Chargers. I mean, to be up 27 points in a playoff game. Now I know from experience, my Dirty Birds, I know, I'm going to hear it, 28-3, right? Biggest stage of them all. I can count right. 27 is more than 25, so it's a new 28-3, 27 zip, 27-0. It doesn't come off the tongue as much, though. That's the problem. 28-3 just rolls off the tongue like it was meant to happen. It's just, fuck, dude. It's going to be 28-3 forever. And then the memes of the Chargers and the new Falcons, that was coming out. And now, is Brandon Staley's job secured? That's in question. Because some of the calls he was kind of making, just, when you're that aggressive, it either you look smart if you win, but if you lose, it's all on you. And I mean, it is what it is. I thought the Jags stepped up when need be. I mean, to me, the big play was that drive going into half for Trevor Lawrence to get down the field and them to really move. That was huge. Then you got the Bills as well. They're up huge. I thought maybe they might do the same thing. I thought, oh my God, here we go. Did they not watch the games from the night before? I mean, they almost give up a huge game, a huge lead as well. What were they up 14-7? They were up 17 nothing at one point, so not quite 27-0, but then the Giants, the G-Men. So we got, I mean, it was just crazy. The Bengals hanging on, playing a tight game, and with the division game, you always can expect something. There's always that chance of it being close, just because it's a division game. Third time playing somebody, you kind of know what they're gonna do, and really that one, to me, that one was as close as it was too, just because the game plan doesn't really change as much from Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley. It's kind of the same game plan going in. So the Bengals kind of they kind of still know what's happening. It's not like it's a new quarterback. Sometimes it can be hard, even if it is a backup. And maybe that's, part of the reason why the Dolphins hung around, which that was impressive. But it's harder when a backup comes in because you're not planning for that guy. You don't know how that guy plays. You really don't know, especially, I mean, if they haven't played it all. But Tyler Huntley, they've seen. The Bengals have seen. They know. They've got tape on him. It's you have tendencies there. But every game was pretty much close, other than, the Cowboys just running away with it. I picked the Cowboys, even though the Bucks were my Super Bowl team. I went with the Cowboys. It's just, I did not expect that. That was impressive, and we'll talk into that. We'll kind of go into it, but we'll start with the 49ers Seahawks. That game was, close at the beginning, but just too much 49ers. Too many pieces, too many weapons. Brock Purdy, like I've been saying now, and I'm not trying to be jumping on the bandwagon, but this kid to me has the stuff. He has whatever it is that makes a quarterback not just a good quarterback, but a great quarterback. I think this kid's got a good future, and I think he's stealing the job from, he's seriously got to be stealing the job from Trey Lance. And I don't know what that means for Trey Lance. I know he lost his job because of an injury, and then Jimmy G came in, and he got injured, so now that's why we're here where we are. But, this kid is is playing amazing, and I know he's got so many pieces around him. It's almost impossible to fail, but it's still you can make it not work. If this kid didn't have the grit, the guts, the leadership, all the intangibles that make a quarterback great, this would have failed. This would have been a closer game against Geno, who's an experienced quarterback who has all the he came in with the experience compared to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy came in with the benefit of having the better team, but still they made it close. They made a good game. I thought it was just almost an impossible battle. They had to be perfect in every aspect of the game, and they did a great job in the first half. Obviously with the lead. 17-16 at half, they were up, and then it just got out of hand. It seemed like that strip sack fumble kind of changed the game. It changed the whole momentum, and it couldn't be brought back. It was too little, too late. I will say I was impressed by DK Metcalf for the Seahawks. If you want to look at any bright spot for the Seahawks, I thought DK played an excellent game. Obviously, 10 for 136, 2 touchdowns. To me, he's always been a guy that's been pretty mildly inconsistent, and I don't know if that's, you can say, quarterback play, but even when Russ was there, it was kind of like he would have these games where he's really great, and then you don't hear from him for a little bit. Then he's come back. So I like to see that more out of DK, because to me, he's got the stuff at 6'4", 235, still only 25 years old. To me, he should be one of them guys that are just tearing up the league. He should be top 5 receiver every year. And I think he has, because just the way he's built, he reminds me of Julio. A lot like Julio. I mean, he's big, fast, tall, strong. I mean, he's got everything that you would want out of a receiver. So I want to see more out of him. So this was a big game for him that I expected. And this is what I expect from DK more often. More often than not, I should say. It's a lot of times he can get shut down by these big corners. But also he needs a running mate. Tyler Lockett's he's not a spring chicken, right? Tyler Lockett's got to be in his 30s right now. Or is he 29? Yeah, he's 30. So, I mean, and he's still playing at a high level, which is great. But I don't know. That's the one takeaway I see from this team. They need to get the receiving core a little bit better. I feel like they found Kenneth Walker. They got the running game, which they want to do. But you got to have pieces to be able to pass off of that. You can run the ball and be successful, but you have to have your pieces. So, with the 49ers, I know everyone's now on this team. It's like, this is the team going to the Super Bowl. This is the team that's going to win it all, which they look like that could be possible. But I want to see what the Eagles have to say about that, because the Eagles are the number 1 seed. Jalen Hurts was playing at an MVP level until he was hurt. He was in the running, but I think Mahomes has clearly taken that MVP status away from him. I mean, it's impossible not to give it to the Patrick Mahomes the way he's been playing, but that's a whole different discussion. But I just think the 49ers, I mean, you get 119 from McCaffrey, so the running game's there. Debo, Ayuk going off. You don't even have George Kittle tearing it up, because he'll have his own different games. The defense is the defense. They're getting pressures, they're getting sacks. It's they can hit you with everything. I mean, Arik Armstead, Charles Omenihu coming in and play. I mean, the guys that you don't even, Arik Armstead and Nick Bosa, the big names. Fred Warner, big names. But I mean, Azeez Ojulari, these other guys, Tashawn Gibson, all these different guys that can come in and make plays. It's a great team effort. You could tell that they buy into playing as a team. It's all about each other. It just feels like a good situation in San Francisco, and I think Kyle Shanahan's got even more weapons than he did with it when he was with Atlanta and took them to the Super Bowl. So, as offensive coordinator, I mean, all the pieces he has, all the tools he has all the tools he needs to get the job done. And he's taken advantage of it, and to put up a win like that over a Seahawks team, which I felt like of all the teams was what was the weakest team. Obviously, them getting in the last. I just felt like they were the weaker team, but they got into the dance. They had a shot at it, and they played really good in the first half. It was just one of them games where the talent was eminent. It showed itself who had the more talent in this game, and 49ers ran away with it. And I think they, you got to believe the hype, but at the same time, we got to see what the Eagles do, because if the Eagles actually, play like the number 1 seed now with Jalen Hurts, it's gonna be tough. Eagles 49ers, that could be a fun matchup if that's what we end up getting. So then Saturday night we had the Chargers Jags. This was fucking nuts. I mean, you want to talk about a tale of two halves for Trevor Lawrence. First half, I mean, what was it? The second play gets tip ball picked. Asante Samuel had 3. Was it 3 I believe 3 in the first half. Yes, he had 3 in the first half. So it was like, what? I was like, oh God, this is gonna get ugly. I mean, I think everybody, including the Chargers, had packed it up. Like, all right, it's done for. We're out of here, boys. We're on to the next one, and that bit them in the ass. I mean, they had it. They were playing lights out on the offense. They were playing lights out on the defense. And then the Jags just kept chipping like Doug Peterson. I think Doug Peterson is coach of the year. There's a lot of candidates, but he's got to be coach of the year. I mean, hands down, coach of the year. For what he's done to that Jags team, to get him to the playoffs is impressive. To get him into a spot to be in the playoffs is really impressive, even though that division is weak. But if you look at it, let's not act like the Tennessee Titans. We're not 7-3 running away with the division. Easily could have been like, fuck, boys, here, it's another one of them. No, they didn't. They just kept doing their thing, sustained themselves, stuck to what they were doing, and found themselves in a chance to get into the playoffs, took advantage of it, beat the Titans head-to-head. Best team gets in. They got in, and now they're making the most of it. They go against a Chargers team who had been rolling. A lot of teams thought, oh, they're peaking at the right time, myself included. Injuries, they can't use the injuries. They did not have Mike Williams. That might have been huge. Had they rested, would it make a difference? I don't know, but I don't like resting. I don't like resting either. I'd rather take the chance of playing your guys and carry momentum in. And they had the moment. They had momentum, but this, to me, they just got up and then fell flat. But to finish that point, Jacksonville goes up against a team that everyone thought was going to win, and then what do? Bam. They find themselves in a huge hole. Oh, it's over, guys. We're done. Could have packed it up there. They had so many chances to pack it up in the season. So shout out to Doug Peterson, to me, coach of the year, for what he's done to the Jaguars team. Duval got him going. So got to credit them. The Jags, huge win. But, I mean, Lawrence to throw 4 picks in the first half, then to turn around, throw 3 touchdowns in the second half. To me, the biggest play was that drive going into halftime, to drive all the way down there, kind of get momentum, put up a touchdown, 27-7, other than 27-0, but then to come back the way they did, defense just pitching almost a shutout in the second half, was huge. And that's how their defense has been. They were inconsistent, right? Everyone was concerned how can their defense play? And they did this against the Titans game too. And they just stepped up, and the defense made this happen. But don't get it twisted now, because the offense did what they needed to do. But the defense made this happen, because if they don't only give up 3 points, it doesn't matter what they do on offensively. They're not going to be able to catch up. So the defense did a hell of a job making play after play. And they've got the pieces. They've got a lot of young talent, a lot of good pieces, and it's just being more consistent. I mean, they got a good Foyce Aluakon from Atlanta. I wish we would have kept that dude. He's all over the field. He's just a beast. Then you got Josh Allen, on the D line with Trayvon Walker stepping up to make plays. But I mean, I like Tyson Campbell. I mean, they've got enough pieces, right? They have enough pieces to really get this thing going, and it just, if they can be consistent, they're a scary team if they can piece this thing together. So I don't know about this year how much I buy stock into Jacksonville making a deep run. We'll kind of talk about the matchups because they draw Kansas City now, and that's a tough one. I don't know about if you're gonna do what you did against Kansas City and what you did against the Chargers, but we got a lot of fun matchups. But shout out to Jacksonville, huge comeback. The Chargers, that's a debacle of debacles. Man, I don't know. You just to lose that way too to end your season, that's heartbreaking. So I know that was hard in the locker room for them to kind of bounce back after that. To think about that actually after that loss. Oh, excuse me. Need my coffee. Doing this without coffee is impossible. So then Sunday we get just a good slate of games, dude. I mean, every game was entertaining. This was to me, I don't know how the Bills game was so close. I got to give credit to the Dolphins because I badmouthed the Dolphins. I said they didn't have a chance in hell without Tua. They didn't stand a chance. This wasn't going to amount to anything. They weren't going to do shit in this game. It was impossible, so on and so forth. And boy, did they prove that to be wrong. That was wrong. They did a great job. They did a hell of a job, actually. They didn't do a great job. They did a hell of a job. Sticking with it. Again, down 17-0 without your starting quarterback. You could have folded this thing away and said, you know what, boys, we weren't meant to win this. We didn't have our quarterback. We didn't do anything. But they came back with vengeance and a fury. I mean, they came back, obviously kicking field goals. You got to score touchdowns. You convert those into touchdowns, and they had a real shot at winning this against the Bills. And that's what scares me against Buffalo, right? That's where I'm just so, I just, they can drive up and down the field at will. I mean, easily. But this defense isn't playing as well as I thought this defense should have been playing. I thought this defense was going to be a top-tier defense. Obviously, no Von Miller. They've lost pieces. But so is everybody. And, I mean, on the other side, Bradley Chubb's on a what you call pitch count, basically. He's only coming in certain times. He's not fully 100% with that ankle, but he's giving it a go. But credit to Miami coming back, making this a really good game. This was a good game all the way to the end. They had a real shot at it, but the big delay of game got them, and they were confused on was it a first down? Was it not a first down? What were we looking at? And then they get a delay of game at the end there. It just the way that ended is tough. You can't allow stuff like that. Misusing their timeouts. Too many times are having to call timeout. And for me, can't happen. It can't go like that. It can't end that way. It just, and I don't know. It's a tough loss to lose the way they did. You got to be able to clock management is huge. You got to understand the situation. Maybe that's a young coach in the playoffs. Get in the field for it. Maybe he'll learn from that. He'll learn from his mistakes on that one. But you got to be more efficient with your timeouts and what you're doing. And towards the end there, the blunders they had, that's on coaching. And that, you can't blame the team there. That's on the coaching aspect, the coaching side of it. They were calling timeouts because they couldn't get plays in. They weren't getting the plays in time. I mean, that's silly. I mean, you can't have almost delay of games over and over again, and then to waste your timeouts because then you're not getting chances. Because then they're having to go for it. I mean, it was basically, all right, now we're in situations where we have to go for it because we don't have timeouts to even stop the clock to end the game. So, but credit to the Bills. They hung around. They got the win. I thought this should have been a little more convincing. This, to me, is eye-opening. This is scary, right? Next week, they got the Bengals. They're going from playing the Bengals. I mean, you're going from playing the Dolphins, a third-string quarterback. You're playing Joe Cool and Joe Burrow. But, I mean, also you could say, look at the Bengals. And we'll just talk about that right now. Look at the Bengals. They didn't look so hot either, against the Ravens. But that's what I expect from that divisional game. The Ravens' defense is tough, is stout, and the Bills' defense is not playing that way. That's what scares me. Is now the Bengals seem like they have a real good shot at taking on Buffalo because of the way their defense is giving up points. I mean, 31 to the Dolphins. It's the Dolphins, dude. So, Baltimore has got to, it's got a way better defense, but they hung around, and the only reason why they lost, I mean, they really should have won that game. They had a real shot at winning that game. The big turning point in that game was that fumble, the fumble at the goal line, and Sam Hubbard goes all the way. I mean, it was huge. It was the turning point. Obviously, the turning point in the game. It was the go-ahead touchdown for the game. And what scares me about it is the Bengals now, they didn't look very tough either. But again, different defenses you're going to be facing. If they can they keep Joe Burrow upright to where he can get time to pass the ball, because that was so odd. That game was so weird. I've never seen a game where they have to dink and dunk because they don't even have time to get the ball off. I mean, in a playoff game like that, it's kind of like deja vu. That's what scares me about the Bengals and why it just seems like you keep going back to Kansas City as they're got to be the most favored team coming out of the AFC, just because every other team you can visibly see their issues. And I look at Kansas City and I don't really see an issue with them other than like a weakness, other than maybe you can say their defense isn't the greatest, but they're still tearing it up. Their offense is still their offense. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They have a lot of pieces. Isaiah Pacheco's tearing it up. I mean, that's what scares me against these other teams. And Cincinnati is one of those teams where they have a big weakness. Offensive line is huge. You're only going as far as you are as far as your offensive line goes. And they've taken now so many injuries to the offensive line. It's going to be tough. It's an uphill battle. It affects your run game, which then affects your passing game, because if you can't run the ball and they can just, the opposing defense doesn't have to worry about that, and they can just, the D linemen are just free to just come after you. It makes it hard because they're not even thinking about the run, right? The run game is an afterthought. The play action doesn't work. No one's biting on play action. The linebackers don't move up on play action to then give those seams in the middle. I mean, it just changes the whole aspect of your game. Your game plan changes. That's why the Bengals had to go to these hitches. They were saying something about in the game they had the most hitches in one game, hitch routes, because they can't get nothing else. I mean, you don't have time to throw it deep to Chase. It's hard to have three top tier wide receivers, and you can't get them the ball because you can't take more than 3 seconds to get the ball out. So I will give credit to the Baltimore Ravens playing without Lamar Jackson. All the noise, all the media issues, all that stuff going on. Is Lamar coming back? What do you guys think? That's a huge distraction. You're just trying to play a fucking a football game, a playoff game at that, against a division opponent that just kind of whooped your ass the week before, and everyone thinking, oh, it's just going to be the same thing. And you're dealing with questions about Lamar Jackson, if he's going to be the future of your franchise. Is he better? Do you guys move on without him? So to deal with that distraction on top of just playing with the game, of you're playing with the backup quarterback, you don't have your starting guy. You want everyone to be there. You definitely wanted him to be there. And I'll give Tyler Huntley a lot of credit. He played great. I mean, he played great given the scenario. I thought he did an excellent job, but it comes down to, can Cincinnati hold up against a Buffalo? I mean, it's going to be huge against these big teams. If they can't find a way to pass the ball, it's not going to matter. If they can't find a way to protect, that's what scares me. Buffalo's defense is starting to scare me, and then you look at, the AFC is kind of, to me, it runs through Kansas City, whereas the NFC is, you got the 49ers and the the Eagles now. We're going to see what the Eagles are, but the Eagles' opponent's going to be the G-Men, the fucking G-Men, upsetting the Vikings. And what'd I tell you? I told you, don't fuck around with Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins, I'm not even going to bag on him too much. He actually had a pretty decent game. He's 31 for 39, 2 touchdowns. But it just seems like it was predictable. Minnesota, and now everyone's on Danny Dimes. I thought Danny Dimes played great. This was just an all-out, solid performance from him. He played great. But can he do this against an elite team? Because to me, Minnesota was not an elite team. Their defense, first off, their defense couldn't stop Georgia right now. I mean, they would not even be able to stop Georgia Bulldogs. Their defense is just kind of a liability. Their offense, they're all offense. Reminds me of my Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl year, where the defense was just not there, but the offense was there, and the offense was overwhelmingly great. But the run game, to me, you can't go with one bell cow running back. Dalvin Cook getting 15 carries, 60 yards, and then Kirk Cousins passing the ball the whole time. It's just inconsistent. I mean, you can't, not inconsistent, it's just predictable. They're going to they want to drop back and pass. And drop back and pass. And they were getting it going for a minute there. I mean, to me, if I was the Giants, I would have just sat back. This didn't need to be that close. I would have just sat back and said, go ahead and try to run the ball. We want you to run the football. Please. We're not even going to care for the run. We're gonna sit back and stop this pass. I think they could have got a little more aggressive and had more turnovers and got after it. But that's all the name of the game of this team is. The Giants don't turn the ball over. They lead to the running game. They can pass off of it. So that's what makes them so scary, is they don't turn the ball over, but they just don't get turnovers. So that could be an issue if they start turning the ball over, and then they get into themselves in a hole. That's where it's going to have problems. That's why the Giants are kind of they're a fun story, but man, it really depends on what happens, and you're going to have turnovers. That's the thing. You're going to have at some point, whether it's a special teams turnover or that's where it really starts to bite you. You get a turnover that isn't really on you. As far as the offense, the quarterback's not throwing a pick. You get those fumbles, those odd plays that you're like, oh no, if the ball went this way instead of that way, we would have had a better shot at this. So that's where it really bite them in the ass. But the Giants have a good shot at, I thought they had a good shot going into this. They the Minnesota Vikings at 13-4 just did not feel like a 13-4 football team. I couldn't explain it. I don't know what it was. It's just, it wasn't there. Obviously the defense was a problem, but a lot of teams, can manage, they can get by a few games in the playoffs with bad defense, but eventually it sticks out. And, defense does still win championships. You got to have a defense in this league. It's impossible, because if you can't play perfect football all the time, and that's what you're asking your offense is to play perfect football. You have to drain the clock, because eventually that defense is if that defense is on the field too much, even a great defense doesn't work. Well, putting it out there like that, putting yourself in a position to having to you're just begging for a stop, just stop something so we can, you can't keep up. Eventually, the one time you can't keep up with the team, and I didn't think they'd have a shootout with the Giants. I thought maybe like If they got by and had the 49ers, playing teams like that, playing the Eagles, they weren't going to have a chance in hell because that defense isn't going to be able to stop anything. But the Giants, I think, impressed a lot of people, including myself, the way they've played. And Daniel Jones on the ground, outrunning Saquon, kind of impressive. The G-men looked impressive. I'll give them that. They looked really good. They draw the tough matchup of playing the unknown now and playing the Eagles, which is going to be a wild game. The last game, though, talking about the Giants and the Cowboys and Bucks, we kind of already talked about a little bit. The Buccaneers just laying a goose egg. I'll just talk about how to me this was what was going to happen. The Bucks have looked like this all season. I don't think this was a surprise by any means. I mean, you're throwing it 66 times. Obviously, you're down by as much as you are. You have to then abandon the run game. But they never had the run game to begin with. They never utilized the run game, could never get the run game going. Passing-wise, it was just... It is what it is. When you're throwing it 66 times, I don't care. You're not winning. I mean, double the amount of what Dak threw. And I know this because they're down, but I mean, and Brady just didn't look like himself. He just does not look the same in Tampa right now. He had that one game, and this is why I go back to when they played Atlanta after the week before they go and play Atlanta. They play Carolina. He looked great. Should have kept him playing the whole time against Atlantic. Just keep the get the juices going. I mean, they were playing great. Then you play him for a first half. He still looked good against Atlanta. Then you take him out. And now you go into this game and he looked, I mean, the throws weren't there. He wasn't making the throws that he needed to. And it affected this team. And they were the team to me that just, their defense was there, but eventually it's gonna break. Like I said, you could have a really good defense, and if you can't score points, it does not matter. The name of the game is scoring points. So couldn't get the job done. And really not much to say to that. That one to me falls on Brady, and it just seemed like they weren't in the same realm with the receivers. He's throwing the ball. There was one where to Mike Evans where he's throwing it over the middle. Mike Evans is cutting outside, and it's just like, what? How do you guys not? How are you that far off page? And you've been playing with each other all season, so it just they never could get into it, never could dial it in, never got it right. And the Cowboys, to me, I think Cowboys fans are going to be going nuts for this win, but you kind of need to realize the situation. You did just play the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they were not good. They didn't look good. You played a team that did not even look like themselves. So don't get all buck wild because you guys, won that game, because that is that is to me whatever. You now have to play the 49ers, who, I'm sorry, they're gonna just that's gonna be a fun matchup. But with that defense, both defenses, it's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be a good one. You got Jags, Chiefs. Let's make picks. Let's make the picks. Oh, let's see. We got some fun matchups. We got Jags and Chiefs. We got Eagles, Giants, Bills, Bengals, and 49ers, Cowboys. So Jags, Chiefs. To me, the Chiefs are the team to beat. I think from this point now, Chiefs 49ers get back. I think Chiefs 49ers get back to Super Bowl. I think we're going to have that matchup again. This time it's going to be a little bit different. But talking about Jags, Chiefs, this one to me, resiliency is a big thing for the Jaguars. They do not seem to care what the situation is. Doug Peterson, they're playing for Doug Peterson. They're going to give it all. But to me, this is inconsistency from Trevor Lawrence. What are we going to get? What half of the Trevor Lawrence are we going to get? I think the way him throwing the ball is inconsistent and a little bit scary at times. His throws that he misses can really be a factor for him. But the Chiefs come out, and all these games seem to be have been close. I think this one here, Mike, could get out of hand like in the second half. This would be a game where it could get pulled away here, but you never know. I expect the Chiefs to just handle their business. they had been rolling. There's just too much offense, and I think that defense is going to have to play a big thing. They're going to have to do big things, making big stops against Kansas City. And can they do that? I don't know. Can they do that for 4 quarters? Certainly not. I mean, Kansas City's going to get what they want at some point. Their offense is too much. Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco, they've got too many weapons, and it's even Juju, who is not the big name. McCole Hardman still questionable. Let's see, is McCole Hardman? What do they got? Andy Reid said Hardman won't practice Tuesday. Okay. Is not responding the way. Oh, so it sounds like McCole Hardman might not be available. Even with that said, I just think Justin Watson can step in and do what he does for him. He's made some big plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes will make any of these guys look really good. He'll get them as long as they're where they need to be. He'll get them the ball. He'll find a way. I like the Chiefs in this one. Obviously, they're just too much offense for that defense to try to make plays, and Lawrence being inconsistent as he is, it's just he has to play perfect. It feels like the 49ers and the Seahawks and the Jags are the Seahawks. They got to play a perfect game the whole time, and it's just too big of an uphill battle for them. I thought they knocked out the Chargers. That was a great game for them, but I think you draw the line here is where as far as what teams what they can do ability wise. This is just on paper the too much of a difference in talent. Giants Eagles. This will be a fun one. This one's tough for me to pick because Philly coming back with Jalen Hurts. This could be an upset. I almost feel like I want to go G-Men on this. It just smells like there's an opportunity for an upset. Teams that play each other, they know each other, and boy, the more I think about it, I want to go Giants. I want to go Giants right now. You look at the 2 games. The Eagles put a hurting on them. No pun intended. They put a hurting on them the first matchup. And at the end of the season, it was 22-16. But again, that was with Jalen Hurts coming back. So and that was the Giants resting. So I don't know. We just don't know. We don't have anything to really go off of as far as these two teams, other than early in the season. But man, you can't look it back that far. It does no good. This is a playoff game. This is, Giants don't turn the ball over. Oh, man, I want to go. I'm going Giants. I'm just going to say it. I'm going Giants. I think these two teams playing each other, the Giants playing as well as they are. I know a lot of teams are probably now going to be going on the Giants, but I just think if that's what we're getting, if that's a G-Men we're going to get, the Eagles' defense is tough, though. So it's not going to be the same. It's not Minnesota's defense. So, I don't know. I'm going back and forth on this now. I like the Eagles, though. I think the Eagles have too many offensive weapons, man. It's going to be a close game. It really is. I'm going to stick with the Giants. I think the Giants can pull this off. If they don't turn the ball over, they do what they do, running the ball, keeping the ball away from the Eagles, running the ball. Both teams can do this kind of the same thing. They run the ball. Quarterbacks can keep it. It's going to be a close, nitty-gritty, down-to-the-wire game, I feel like. And I'm going to go G-Men. But we're going to see what the Eagles have. If they can get a couple turnovers, it's definitely Giants. That's the key. To me, the key is can the Giants force the Eagles to make some turnovers? We'll see. We'll find out what there is to be had there. What can they do? This is going to be I think this is one of the closest games of the weekend. I think they're all going to be pretty close. Philly's favored by 7.5. They're favored huge. I think it's closer than 7.5. I think that line is a little high. I think that this one it's going to be a little closer than that. I like the Giants. I really feel the Giants can make some plays. They can, all they got to do is get a couple turnovers. Get a turnover or two, not turn the ball over. Just win the turnover battle. I'll say that. When they win the turnover battle, they might have this one. I'm going to go upset. I'm going G-Men. I like the G-Men, coming in. They got the momentum rolling on. They got momentum on their side. I'm taking G-Men. And then Sunday we get the Bengals, Bills, Cowboys, Giants. So Bengals, Bills, kind of talked about this one. Two teams I'm nervous about. Offensive line for the Bengals and the defense for the Bills. The defense has been playing shoddy for the Bills, just in the sense they could have been a dominant defense. And I feel like, giving up 31 to Miami kind of puts a stink on what you're doing. There's no reason they should have had Skylar Thompson throwing the ball all over him like that. They're now going to be facing Joe Burrow, and if they can't get to the quarterback, if they can actually keep him upright, if they can keep Joe Burrow upright, that's where they're going to have a chance. But what they did but then you also, on the flip side, you look at what the Bengals did against the defense of the Ravens. The Ravens defense did to the Bengals, rather, keeping that game as close as it was. Both teams were kept in games close when it really kind of shouldn't have been. I understand more the Bengals and Ravens one. The Bills being that close to the Dolphins kind of scares me. It really does. I know it's division games and they've played each other 3 times. But up until that point, it's the 3rd time. But I don't know. This one's a coin flip for me. I have concerns about both teams, the offense for the Bengals and the defense of the Bills. That's going to be the matchup right there. To me, it's the Bengals offense and the Bills defense. Which team wins that battle wins this game. If the Bengals offense looks better, can they actually go down and score? Yeah, okay. But if the Bills can actually ratchet it up a little bit, get a turnover or two, and rattle the Bengals, that's where it's going to be the difference maker. Because both teams playing really good football coming into the playoffs, but the playoffs games to me, I know it's playoffs, everything tightens up, ratchets up, but man, I'm going to go Bengals. Just concerning how the Bills played the Bengals, that defense, to me, fuck, dude. It's got to be better than that. I think the Bengals can find a way to get these receivers. They give Burrow a little more time. I like to see the running game. They're not. It's not going to be there, but they got to try to get that run game going with Joe Mixon. They have not been able to run the ball at all. If they can get some running going, and I know the Bills are at home, it's going to be an uphill battle. God, excuse me. It's going to be an uphill battle, but man, Bengals, I'm taking Bengals in this one. Upsetting the Bills at home. Then you got 49ers, Cowboys. I'm just going to say now I'm taking the 49ers. That is the one team right now I'm confident in. I buy the most stock into right now. They seem to be the most complete team offensively and defensively. And it's hard to say otherwise. I'm surprised the line is at 3.5. I think it's at 3.5 just because of how the Cowboys looked. But again, they played the Bucs. So let's slow it down. Just pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. Slow it down just a little bit because they truthfully should have did what they did against that Bucs team. So I mean, they're tooting their own horn about something that they should have done to begin with. So Cowboys fans need to slow it down a little bit. I'm just letting you know right now, it's going to be a tough matchup for you guys. That defense is tough. You're not going to put up as many points as you did. You're not going to be doing what you did against the Bucs. What your offense is going to do. It's not going to be the same. So I think for the Cowboys to win this game, they rely on their defense. Their defense needs to come up with a touchdown. They need to get a pick six. They need to make a play. They need to make some kind of big stance and rattle. You got to rattle the 49ers and try to rattle Brock Purdy, which he doesn't seem to get rattled. So to me, the Cowboys got to make a big play defensively. It's got to come from the defense because I think the offense is what it is, and the offense has to be consistent too. We can't see what we saw against Washington because you play an ounce of that. If you get an ounce, just an ounce of that for against the 49ers, that Cowboys team against the 49ers, they will make you pay bad, and they will embarrass you. So the offense has to just play good football. They have to move them up and down. They can't have 3 and outs. They have to have sustainable drives. Keep the 49ers off the field. Don't allow them to get the ball back and get those pieces on. That's going to be huge. Trying to play clock management, keeping the 49ers off the field, to me, that's where you got to have it. That's where your money is. Keeping the 49ers off the field. Don't allow all them pieces to beat you, because they can't beat you if they're not on the field. That is the golden rule in the NFL. It's always, how do you beat Brady? Not this Brady, but old Brady. How do you beat Brady? How do you beat Favre? How do you beat Rodgers? How do you beat Peyton Manning? How do you beat these elite quarterbacks? How do you beat Mahomes? You keep those fuckers off the field. Because if they don't have the ball, they can't beat you. That's just a simple, write that down. Step 1 in the NFL. They can't beat you if they don't have the fucking football. So the Cowboys got to keep those weapons off the field. They got to, play their game, slow it down a little bit, have slow methodical drives, marching up and down the field. That's what you got to do. Can they do it? I don't fucking think so. All that being said, I've got the 49ers. I think their defense is too much, too big, too fast, too strong. They're just too much, man. And Brock Purdy, had this been Jimmy G, I'd say you had a better chance. No disrespect to Jimmy G, but to me, he is a system quarterback. He's benefited from being in that system. So I think he's a really good system quarterback. I think he's probably the best one we've seen. But I just don't think he's capable of going out and winning you games to this degree. And that's why I think they got to the Super Bowl when they did, and they couldn't win. System guy gets you that far. The system's great, and then it collapses when it's, you get a team that, like Kansas City, that can just do it all. So I'm taking 49ers. So we're going Chiefs over Jags. We're going Giants over the Eagles. In the closest game to me, the toughest game to pick, I'm going Bengals over Bills, and I'm gonna go 49ers over Cowboys. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't hold me to it because my Super Bowl picks are out. We've had upsets. What did we go on the weeks? I had the 49ers. Yeah, I had the Chargers. We lost that one. Bills, I was right on that one. I had the Giants. We were correct on every game other than those fucking Jaguars coming back on us. So, we actually, looking back on it, I did not even think about that. We were good on every game. Had the Chargers not given up a 27-0 lead, we would have picked them all. We'd had all the picks right. So let's see how we do in the 4 games here. Chiefs, I think everyone's on the Chiefs, right? The Giants, that's where things get dicey. Everyone's that pick might be, you might be thinking I'm crazy, but I just think the way the Giants are playing, I don't know. They're playing inspired football. Dable's got them going. Another guy that could be coach of the year. Truthfully, you could go. There's 2 coaches to me that could really could get it. Actually, there's a lot of coaches, right? I think Andy Reid could get it again, but I think Doug Peterson is well deserved. I think Brian Dable, Dan Campbell, I think he's deserving as well. So it's just, it is. I mean, it's a tough matchup there for the Eagles and Giants one, but a lot of coaches that could win Coach of the Year. And then let's see, we got Bills Bengals, tough one there. I'm going Bengals. That's the one where I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's hard, especially at home for the Bills. They're gonna have a lot of pieces, but we're going Bengals over Bills, and then we're going 49ers over Cowboys. So we'll see how we turn out, how those pan out. But as always, love y'all and peace.